When we all inevitably get to the stage in our lives where we have to decide what our next steps will be, what we're planning on doing, and how we're planning on doing it, then a lot of really interesting things can come up as a result of this. For me, I had to start thinking about what kind of impact did I want to have, what kind of skills did I want to gain, and most importantly, what kind of problems did I want to solve. And from this place, then there's the very obvious and cliched advice of trying to match your interests with your predispositions or kind of pre-existing skills that you've already developed to be able to further those to make the most amount of impact in that particular field as you possibly can. Now, this advice is obviously quite practical and hands-on and quite valuable for the most part, but the disagreement that I have with this set of advice is that it doesn't really seem to provide much leeway for exploration and for discovering different potential options that we may not have had the chance to investigate yet. To a certain extent, it's almost like we're restricting ourselves only to the things that we've done in the past that we already have a data set available for, to being able to draw our conclusions around what we think we would be best at doing in the future. And there's a few people out there who have been able to find something that they can really sink their teeth into and really enjoy for the long term from a very early point in their life. And they do really well at it. If they enjoy it, or for some reason they've been compelled to do it, let's say from family circumstance, then the likelihood that they're going to develop skills in that area is quite high as a result of them doing it so consistently for a long period of time. Whereas I feel like for most people, and definitely from my experience and from the experience of most of the people that I've found myself talking with, is that it can be very difficult sometimes to reflect on what we genuinely enjoy if we don't have enough data points to be able to support for or against any particular thing. So it could be a good idea to go out there and to taste different things and follow different interests and curiosities to be able to expand that data set of experience in different things that we could see as potential opportunities. And when we do this, it's increasing the resolution of the picture of potential we have of ourselves in the future. What this meant for me was that after I was about 4, I spent the next 15 years believing that I was going to play professional soccer or football, depending upon where you are when you're watching this video. But that was the trajectory that I had in that moment. And if I was to stay in that framework, then I would be not expanding the potential options of what I could be doing, like what I'm doing now, which I'm so grateful that I was able to do. And when you're in that place, right between transitioning from the thing you've felt like you're going to do for the rest of your life, for pretty much your entire life up to that point, can be a very scary and uncertain place to be. Which is understandable, because when all of the fundamental axioms you have about the world and your life leading up to a certain point suddenly vanish, that can leave your foundations a little bit shaky. And so we go out into the big bad world and we try to make something work. I know the first handful of things, or even half a dozen things that I did, were complete flops. You know, I started off with trying to do physiotherapy, and then massage, and then life coaching, and then sales, and then property, and all of these different things, all culminating to eventually seeing that maybe academia could be a potential pursuit for me. Maybe going to university could be a really interesting option. And so then the cogs turn of, architecture's pretty cool. Politics, philosophy, and economics is really interesting. Medicine or medical sciences. Mechatronics and engineering. And then all of those realizations slowly converge. And for me, what that resulted in was biomedical engineering. When we decide to pull on the thread of our curiosity, it can take us down paths that we never thought was even possible, or that we had even conceived of before, if we had remained in our previous framework of the world. In short, try new things and interesting stuff happens. Also, I think it's important to note that it's far better to frame or to focus the goals or ambitions or potential aspirations we have around problems that we're wanting to solve. And that can be problems in any field, whether for me, engineering and research and more academic pursuits, or whether it's also in other areas such as, childcare or painting or being some kind of writer. what kind of problem are you looking to solve? And then from that framework, then it's much easier to look at, all right, what skills do I need to then be able to solve this problem? And then that is the framework you use to say whether or not, do I need to go to university? Do I need to work in an internship somewhere? Do I need to start another kind of endeavor? That is the way that we can see what is the best use of our time. Whereas if we were to just come at life to say, oh, well, I just want to get this bachelor's, or I just want to get XYZ master's or PhD, but we don't have any reasoning behind why we are doing that, then not only would it become much easier to burn out or to drop out and to not continue along that path, but it also makes it less fruitful in the long term because we're not as focused on a particular area that we're wanting to contribute towards, which if we have a problem already sorted out in our mind of what we would like to help solve and help contribute to, then that focuses the amount of effort and intention that we're able to put directly towards that end. And plus, we almost leapfrog the potential problems of self-identity and self-image because we don't necessarily have to change who we think we are to being able to start working on a problem. But if we are framing the way that we are wanting to move forward as I need to become this certain, picturesque, idealized version of someone that we might see in the media, then it's a much more difficult debate to have with ourselves as compared to saying, hey, this is an important problem that I see in the world that I want to contribute towards helping. All personal development is fundamentally just self-image adjustment. And in that way, it's a very important component of, improving ourselves. However, when we're just looking to get to the next step, the next stage of our lives, that requires a much higher activation energy to kickstart that process from happening. Whereas if we choose to just focus on solving a particular problem and we let that self-image change or development happen over a period of time, then we're able to get started and get moving much faster because that has a far lower cost or fee of entry into the game of doing shit. As corny as it sounds, ultimately I'd love to see a world where people are out chasing their curiosities and tracking down solutions to their own particular set of problems that captivates their interest and intrigues them more than just, sitting around and not doing too much. Which, sure, there are times in our lives where, that is completely fine and self-care and rest is really important. But to live an inspired life, to live one where we know that we are contributing towards the body of information and knowledge of humanity in whatever context that is. It doesn't have to be scientific research. It can, as I said before, it can be anything. But if we're living an inspired life, that I feel is one of the most important components to living a good life. To have that inspiration each day to really get up and get going rather than the stereotypical, sit in bed, feel sad, feel tired, and, drudge along through the day, through the week, and ultimately through our lives. Not to dismiss or discount any particular situation or scenario that any person might find themselves in, but to recognize the ideal and to have that in the forefront of our minds of what we're trying to strive for is, I think, an important step to make. And that's about it for this video. Thank you so much if you made it this far. I do truly appreciate all of the support that I've been getting in the form of messages and offline conversations and feedback that I've been getting as a result of these videos. So it's truly appreciated and I'm really grateful. So if you enjoyed this, then feel free to come along on the journey and subscribe. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day and hopefully I look forward to seeing you next time.